everyone, and welcome to the committee hearing of the Health and COVID-19 Response Cluster, DCC Ad Hoc Committee. This meeting is now called to order. I hear a motion.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead,
I
Chair.
move that we dispense with the calling of the roll.
Second.
There's a motion to dispense the calling of the roll. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. We'll now proceed on the approval of the minutes of previous meeting.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Chair.
I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting and
approve it. Second.
There's a motion to dispense the reading and approval of the minutes of previous meeting. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Would like to recognize the presence of the following members. Our Vice Chair, Representative Marilu Arroyo, Representative Maricel Natividad Nagaño, our Vice Chair also, Representative Ruth Hernandez, our Vice Chair, Representative Joette Garcia, our Vice Chair, Representative Sandra Erigel, our Vice Chair, and Representative Sean Acop, our Vice Chair, Representative Cheryl Deloso-Montalla, Representative June Gato, Representative Ditas Ramos, Representative Hector Sanchez, Representative Joey Salceda, Representative Angelica Natasha Co, Representative Angelo Marcos Barba, and Representative Leonardo Babasa, Representative Ron Salo. For our resource person joining us today from the DOST, of course, Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, and Undersecretary, and the Director DLLO, Ms. Lita S. Suerte Felipe. From the Department of Health, we have from the FDA, Center for Drug Regulation and Research, Ms. Jesusa Serunay, and Ms. Jocelyn Balderrama from Common Services Laboratory, and Mr. Ryan Lirasan from Product Research and Standards Development Division. From the RITM, we have Director Dr. Celia Carlos. From the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, we have Dr. Jaime Montoya. From the Industrial Technology Development Institute, we have Ms. Annabel Briones and Engineer Reynaldo Esguerra. We also have from National Research Council of the Philippines, Dr. Gregorio Del Pilar, President and Chair of Social Sciences Division, Dr. Leslie Michelle Dalmasio, Chair, Medical Sciences Division, Executive Director, Dr. Marietta Bañez Dumagaysay, and Dr. Arvin Diezmos. From the National Academy of Science and Technology, we have Executive Director, Ms. Luningning Samarita. From the Biotechnology Coalition of the Philippines, we have Executive Secretary, Dr. Abriham Manalo, and Dr. Nina Gloriani. From the University of the Philippines, Manila, we have Ms. Sharia de la Paz Silava from Program Alumni and Associate Professor. From the Department of Agriculture, we have the DA National Meat Inspection Service. We have January Nones. From the UP Philippine Genome Center, we have Executive Director Dr. Cynthia Saloma and John Michael Yap. From the DBM, we have Richard Amborgo. From the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, we have Attorney Monette Lim from BCDA. We have Senior Vice President, CDG, Mr. Joshua M. Bingkang, and EVP Eileen Anunciacion Sosa. And from the Bureau of Treasury, we have Mr. Dominic Mariano. Also, joining us today also is Chairperson of the Science and Technology Committee, Representative Enrico Aumentado. That's all. Good morning again, everyone, distinguished colleagues and our esteemed guests and resource persons. The Subcommittee on Health and COVID-19 Response of the DCC shall devote its time today to deliberate on House bills establishing the Virology Institute of the Philippines. This is a priority measure of the House of Representatives, which was specifically emphasized also by the President in his SONA. The proposed establishment of Virology Institute of the Philippines, or VIP for brevity, is a concrete step and strategic response not only in our fight against COVID-19 pandemic, but in ensuring public health emergency preparedness. Today, we should see to it that the central role of science, as have been repeatedly expressed by the government officials, especially by scientists and health authorities and experts, shall materialize and develop as a matter of urgent priority through the VIP. There can be no argument that humankind's best hope for preventing and treating diseases comes from vigorous research. In the age of globalization, people are being ever more mobile through trade, tourism, educational, and cultural activities, among others. And with globalization, viruses and diseases also travel. The pathogens will spread as human mobility increases, and vector-borne diseases will definitely spread too. Another issue that we have to deal with is close contact between humans and animals. Many diseases that turn into epidemics are originally zoonoses, meaning they develop in animals, for example, the COVID-19, influenza, and Ebola. Large-scale industrial livestock farming increasingly happens in so-called developing countries. We import those products, which exacerbates the problem. Thus, the increasing importance of virology comes to the fore. Over the past 2 decades, we know more and more viruses and how to treat viral diseases with advances in virology. However, the Philippines ought to establish and develop its own capability in this field. It cannot remain as mere spectator and recipient of advances in virology in other countries. We must invest decisively in science to ensure health security and economic progress at the same time. The funding of the first Philippine-made COVID-19 test kit is a good start and indication that our country can be a step closer towards developing its own vaccines. This representation is hopeful that the Philippine-made vaccines can be made possible once the proposed Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines is made operational. In a nutshell, the aforementioned bills envision the VIP as a premier research institute in the field of virology, encompassing all areas in viruses and viral diseases in humans, plants, and animals. It will conduct innovative scientific research on viral agents requiring higher or maximum containment, that is, biosafety level 2 to biosafety level 4, in accordance with the World Health Organization's guidelines on the establishment of a virology laboratory in developing countries. Research studies on viral agents will focus on vector, reservoir, transmission, viral ecology, clinical virology, pathogenesis, pathophysiology, and host immune response to these viral pathogens. Moreover, the proposed institute may explore other fields such as enteric infections and respiratory infections, central nervous system infections, viral infections in the immunocompromised host, antiviral and antimicrobial resistance, viral diversity, plant pathology, plant-virus interactions, and major plant viruses. The establishment of VIP would also be for the development of vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics. The institute will be the venue for scientists both here and abroad to work collaboratively to study viruses of agricultural, industrial, clinical, and environmental importance. So we'd like to recognize the, okay, I'd like to recognize the chair of the Committee of Science and Technology, Chair Aumentado, for his sponsorship speech or opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Angelina. Good morning to our co-chairperson, Janet Garin, my respected colleagues in Congress, our esteemed guests for today's meeting. A pleasant morning to all of us. In the past several years, the world has been the rise of different diseases caused by viruses or family of viruses. First, there was a severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, caused by SARS-CoV virus. It triggered an outbreak in Guangdong, China in 2002 and spread across 26 countries in different parts of the world, infecting more than 8,000 people and the world infecting killing more than 770 in the span of 2 years. Then there was the Middle East respiratory syndrome brought about by the MERS-CoV virus. MERS sparked an outbreak in Saudi Arabia in 2012 and another in South Korea in 2015. Now we have another respiratory disease, the novel coronavirus disease 19, or most popularly known as COVID-19, which is caused by virus from the same family of coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. COVID-19 has blown into pandemic proportions, affecting millions all over the world. To be more specific, the unprecedented pandemic has already afflicted more than 20 million people and has killed more than 740 worldwide. And it is continuously wreaking havoc to our health and continuously healthcare system today. COVID-19 has also affected our education system and social lives and have severely debilitated the global economy. That is why I would like to commend the authors of these bills that are now set before us for their proposed measure to establish a Virology Institute to ensure sustained progress in the following: conduct of researches of viruses, development of diagnostic vaccines and therapeutic, promotion of international cooperation and network of databases of virus infection, operation of viruses, gene banks, genome laboratory, reference laboratory, and high containment laboratory, among others. Admittedly, this may not be the instant solution to the COVID-19 problem that we are facing now, but firmly believe that we will find a way to fix it soon. Russia was first to come out with the so-called Putin C vaccine by the means of social media. So while we await the full outcome of the race to find the vaccine for COVID-19, we set our eyes on the road ahead and set the stage for the war against emerging disease by establishing our own Virology Institute. Words of Apostle Paul to Galatians in let us not be weary in doing good, for all the proper time we will reap a harvest and we do not give up. Let us not give up at this juncture. Let us keep our hopes up and arm ourselves with all the weapons we can contribute to fight this emerging disease. Thank you, Mrs. Chair. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Aumentado. I would like to recognize the authors of the different bills for their sponsorship speech. On House Bill number 6793, Representative Chair Joey Sarte Salceda.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and of course to my good partner, the Chair of the Science and Technology. Let my explanatory note be my sponsorship speech. I would just like to add 5 items for consideration eventually First is one, as a new section on private and public partnerships, of course, under DTI. Second, the promotion of virology as an industry, that we should put it in the SIPP, is the Strategic Investments Priorities Plan, that especially yun po ang magiging parang main vehicle ng CREATE para sa investments. Third, yung promotion ng knowledge transfer and research in the academe, using not just SUCs but HACE, depending na po yan sa DOST. And 1, 2, 3, number 4, the protection of BIP developed intellectual property should be considered. And number 5, exemption from the salary standardization law para makuha natin, hindi po kaya ng balik scientist para po ma-engage natin yung the best para dito. So yung technical personnel lang ng BIP. And number 6, of course, interagency contribution to the BIP, that the findings of the BIP should be integrated in the plans ng mga posible pong makinabang sa mga output po, not just the IITF but its successor entities. So yun lang po. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I actually put my letter inside the Viber for consideration of the committee once it is already being deliberated. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone.
Thank you so much for that.
Good morning pala, DOST Secretary Fortunato. Sir.
Good morning, Congressman Salceda.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. I would like to recognize Representative Cheryl Deloso-Montalla for House Bill 6798.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Kong Helen and also Kong Aumentado, the Chairperson of the Science and Technology Committee, to Secretary de la Peña and all our guests. I am here today, Madam Chair, to sponsor House Bill 6798, otherwise known as an act providing for the framework for the establishment and operations of virology laboratories in the Philippines, creating for the purpose the Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines, or VIP, and appropriating funds therefor. The call for the establishment of a Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines came to fore in the midst of our battle with the SARS-CoV-2, the etiologic agent of our current pandemic. It can be recalled that the Department of Science and Technology, sometime in May 2020, called on Congress to pass a law providing for the establishment of the VIP, which will be the premier research institute in the field of virology, encompassing all areas in virus researches and viral diseases in human, plants, and animals. Its primary goal is the development of diagnostics, vaccines, and therapeutics. In addition, it will also conduct innovative scientific research on viral agents requiring high or maximum containment, biosafety level 2 to biosafety level 4, following the World Health Organization's guidelines on the establishment of a virology laboratory in developing countries. A few days ago, Malacanang announced that President Duterte is now reviewing the recommendation to establish the VIP that will serve as the premier research institute in virology and viral diseases in order to strengthen local vaccine development in the country. The establishment of a virology institute, however, requires compliance with internationally set guidelines and protocols, because the greatest danger to the public from laboratories housing dangerous pathogens are when lab workers unknowingly become infected and then go into the community. This danger may be potentiated by risk of accidents or terrorism grows as more countries handle exotic microbes. Thus, the critical aspects of biosafety, biosecurity, and biocontainment have been in the spotlight in recent years. There have also been increased international efforts to improve awareness of modern practices and concerns with regard to the safe pursuit of life sciences research. and to optimize current oversight frameworks, thereby resulting in decreased risk of terrorism or malevolent acquisition of deadly pathogens or accidental release of biological agent, and increased safety of laboratory workers. The World Health Organization's revised International Health Regulation of 2005, the Biological Weapons Convention, and the United Nations Security Resolution 1540 overlap in their requirements with regard to biosafety and biosecurity. These guidelines were drafted in order to improve the understanding of scientists and policymakers and maximize the use of resources to comply with internationally mandated requirements. The broad range of goals of these international instruments, which are linked by the common thread of biosafety and biosecurity, highlight their significance as essential pillars of international health security and cross-cutting elements of biological non-proliferation. The Matrix for Biological Weapons and Related Materials under UNSCR 1540 identifies the following areas where domestic controls should be implemented and enforced. Measures to account for secure production, measures to account for secure use, measures to account for security storage, measure to account for secure transport, regulations for physical protection of facilities, materials, and transports, licensing, registration of facilities, persons handling biological materials, reliability check of personnel, measures to account for security, physically protect means of delivery, regulations for genetic engineering work, other legislations, regulations related to safety and security of biological materials. In spite of greater awareness of safety and containment procedures, the handling of pathogenic viruses remain a likely source of infection and mortality among laboratory workers. There is a steady increase in both the number of laboratories and scientists handling emerging viruses for diagnostics and research. The potential harm associated to this work with these infectious agents can be minimized through the application of sound biosafety concepts and practices. The main factors for the prevention of laboratory-acquired infection are well-trained personnel who are knowledgeable and biohazard aware, perceptive of the various ways of transmission, and professional in safe laboratory practice management. In addition, we should also emphasize that appropriate facilities, practices, and procedures are to be used by the laboratory workers for the handling of emerging viruses in safe and secure manner. With the WHO IHR, the BWC, and the UNSCR as guiding instrument, I filed House Bill 6798, otherwise known as the Framework for Establishment of Operation of Virology Laboratories in the Philippines. The introduction of this measure not only covers the tenets in the establishment of the VIP, but also defines biosecurity law in virology by outlining national policies for handling dangerous pathogens. In our concerted effort to come up with a Virology Institute in order to locally produce vaccines and utilize viruses to serve the ends of agriculture, industry, technology, and public health, we need to pay special attention to the principles of biosafety and biosecurity of not only the VIP, but of all virology laboratories in the country in the longer term. It is for this reason that the VIP, under my proposed bill, is given regulatory functions over all other virology laboratories, both in public and private. Without this regulatory function, we will have before us ticking bombs awaiting to explode once virology research laboratories start to pop up elsewhere in the country. In addition, House Bill 6798, under this bill measure, the VIP will only be tasked to do pilot researches and studies involving viruses and their potential for use in vaccine development. In the process of virus attenuation, it must be done in cooperation with the FDA or the Pharmaceutical Development Center should the government decide to establish one. And when the developed vaccine will be used in trials involving human subjects, it will automatically fall within the ambit of the RITM and eventually the CDC. To be candid about it, the VIP under my proposed measure is not imbued with powers and authority to conduct vaccine research using human as subjects, as vaccination injury, adverse reactions, and vaccine interaction with other drugs are within the expertise and mandate of the RITM. The measure provides a clear, self-executing set of rules, not only in the operation of the VIP, but of all virology laboratories in the country, as biosafety and biosecurity as essential pillars of international health security and cross-cutting elements of biological non-proliferation. A well-defined national policy that is insulated from whims and caprices of individuals must be put in place in order to protect the proposed law from possible abuse or subject it to interpretations which may be used as basis from the introduction of pathogens that can put public health and security to harm rather than good, as is the intent of this bill. It must be emphasized that while the WHO has published a manual on the different levels of biosafety, the standards are not enforced in any treaty. In short, there is no international enforcement mechanism in place to ascertain that biosafety laboratories are fully compliant with these standards. It is thus incumbent upon state parties to clearly, plainly, distinctly, and unmistakably define it in its law for compliance to international standards. Thus, the provision of this proposed bill are not only in consonance with the WHO, BWC, and UNSCR regulations, but also in keeping with the constitutional provisions of protecting and promoting the right to health of every Filipino. In crafting House Bill 6798, my paramount consideration is public safety and security. It is for this reason that the minimum and essential features of a virology laboratory based on international standards are clearly and specifically itemized in the proposed law, as the good enough attitude in dealing with live viruses has no room in virology studies and researches, particularly those which involve highly pathogenic or virulent strains. In the establishment of the VIP, it must be emphasized that its functions will be complementary to the functions of the Research Institute on Tropical Medicine, or RITM, as well as FDA, and eventually the Centers for Disease Control. It should be clear that, as espoused in my proposed bill, that VIP will be tasked, among others, to do virology research, any aspects of botanical and zoological disciplines for industrial, technological, and biological purposes. It shall also conduct pilot and pioneering studies in human virology. However, once a virology research under VIP would require the use of human subjects, such research shall fall under the exclusive jurisdiction of the RITM and eventually the CDC. And the role of the VIP under this circumstance shall only be collaborative. Hindi po pwede ang pwede na sa virology research. In order to guarantee public health and safety, every possible scenario of an outbreak arising through the release of a biohazard from any virology laboratory in the Philippines into the environment cannot be neglected. To avoid misunderstanding, biosafety must include all the preventive measures to be carried out to avoid infection of the Filipino by pathogenic organisms and or their toxins and their release to the environment. This must be clearly and unequivocally defined in the law and not in the IRR governing the establishment of the VIP. With the foregoing, Madam Chair, the immediate passage of this measure is highly sought. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kong Chair. would like to recognize the author of House Bill 6838, authored by Representative Strike Revilla. Do we have Kong Strike? If not, we can proceed to House Bill 6873, authored by Representative Angelo Marcos Barba.
Thank
You
you,
have the
Madam
floor.
Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Secretary de la Peña, my colleagues, and our resource persons. We all very well know that COVID-19 has become the first pandemic of this generation, and millions have contracted this COVID-19 as of today. With the emergence and re-emergence of infectious diseases, there can be no argument that humankind's best hope of preventing and treating these diseases comes from a vigorous research institute. It is therefore imperative that Congress finally support and strengthen research and development in the country. This proposed measure seeks to establish a virology institute that shall focus on research on viruses, development of diagnostics, vaccines, and therapeutics, and also the operation of a high containment laboratory dedicated to the study of highly infectious and pathogenic viruses. The establishment of an institute that will conduct an in-depth study on viruses affecting the lives of the people and resources is vital for the protection of the health of the people and the preservation of the national life. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kong Barba. We'd like to recognize the author of House Bill 6913, Representative Leonardo Babasa Jr.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to Chairman Omintado, to our dear colleagues, Secretary de la Peña, and to all other resource persons. In behalf of the people, the second district of Zamboanga del Sur, I am sponsoring House Bill number 6913, entitled An Act Establishing the Philippine Virology Science and Technology Institute and Appropriating Funds therefor. Madam Chair, the unseen enemy is always the most fearsome one. Throughout history, the world has been in numerous battles which have claimed the huge parts of the population. Pero iba tong igera natin ngayon. Iba to. It is against an unseen enemy which attacks an unsuspecting victim treacherously while evading defensive measures against it. Ito na yung Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2, the disease-causing virus which shook and took the world by surprise. This bill seeks to establish the Philippine Virology Science and Technology Institute, which shall take the forefront in the fight against viruses, the unseen enemy affecting plants, animals, and humans through research and development. According to Secretary Roque, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte is currently reviewing the recommendation to establish the Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines that will serve as a premier research institute in virology and diseases to strengthen local vaccine development in the country. This is part of the government's long-term plans, especially in the face of the ongoing coronavirus disease pandemic. Ika nga, sa Russia, nasa phase 3 na sila. Yung Indonesia, nasa phase 2. Other countries, nasa phase 1. Pero yung Philippines, phase shield pa lang. Through the expertise and focused study on viruses that the Philippine Virology Institute can offer, we can address the issues and unmask the identities of these unseen enemies lurking around our environment. It is therefore imperative that we establish a research institute that delves into the study of viruses or the field of virology. A country needs diagnostics to detect and limit the spread of the existing viruses, vaccines to provide long-term protections, treatments to save lives in the shorter term, and social science to understand their behavioral and societal implications. Hence, this proposed measure. In light of the foregoing, the passage of this bill is most earnestly sought. Thank you very much and mabuhay.
Thank you so much, Congressman Babasa. For House Bill 6992, would like to call on Representative Ron Salo. Kong Ron?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Secretary. Certainly, the importance of establishing this particular laboratory or virology in the country, establishment of this particular agency or office is certainly self-evident. In that regard, Madam Chairman, may respectfully submit and manifest that my explanatory note be submitted as my sponsorship speech in order to abbreviate the also in the interest of time. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kong Ron. Do we have Kong Joette Garcia with us right now? Kong Joette. Kung June Gato.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sir, can you temporarily chair the hearing? Give way for my sponsorship for House Bill 6808.
Okay, Madam Chair. So, good morning. May we now call on Representative and Chair Helen for her sponsorship bill.
Thank you, sir. Good morning again. In the interest of time, may I submit the explanatory note of House Bill 6808 as my sponsorship speech. But allow me to stress, however, that globalization has become a defining term in the 21st century. And with almost anybody being able to set foot at any place, anytime, diseases, viruses, and bacteria have the exponential potential to travel anywhere. I think that has been one of the concerns when an American missionary tried to have a close contact a few years back with Sentinelese people of North Sentinel Island. The tribe which has been living in the island was completely cut off from the outside world for up to 60,000 years. And this isolation has also meant that they have not developed immunity to the common infections as well as deadly diseases of the modern world. Scientists and medical experts were concerned that the American missionary may have exposed the Sentinelese to germs and infections because they have no defense against them. Now we have the coronavirus from China. The continuing acceleration of globalization will, without doubt, continue to spread the spread of virus infections at the accelerated scale. And so the importance of treating the triggers and diagnostics, hence the growing significance of the field of virology in our lives, especially today. That is the essence of this measure, the establishment of research institute that delves into the study of existing viruses, vaccines to provide protection, treatments to save lives, and social science to understand their behavioral and societal implications. Hindi po natin nakikita ang ating kalaban katulad ng COVID-19 pero dapat natin silang maintindihan sa pamamagitan ng masusing pag-aaral at pananaliksik. This is what this measure is all about. Thank you so much.
My last bill na, the bill of Congressman Revilla, Strike Revilla. Congressman Strike Revilla is here around. If not, we can proceed with, are there any other bill except for the bill of Congressman Revilla? Madam Comsec? Wala.
Sir, if there are no more sponsors, may we ask the DOST to present their position paper or any PowerPoint, sir?
I now turn you over to Madam Chair, Helen Tan.
Thank you, Kong Jun Gato. I would like to recognize first the presence of the following members: our Vice Chair, Representative Domingo Rivera. We have Representative Adriano Ebcas, Representative Alberto Pacquiao, Representative Angelica Natasha Co, and Representative Edgar Chato. We also have USEC Cristina Guevara from the DOST, Miss Prestel Monica Clemacosa from the University of the Philippines, Manila. And we have Director Reynaldo Ebora from Picard. We also have Mr. Carlos Dominguez, or Secretary Carlos Dominguez from the Department of Finance. That's all. Okay, I would like to recognize first for the comments and position of our resource speakers. Would like to recognize Secretary Fortunato de la Peña from the DOST.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Pleasant morning to all the members of the House of Representatives here present. I would like to comment on the presentations made by the different authors. Basically, in the case of the changes that that Congressman Salceda mentioned, there were 6. We agree completely. For example, the mention of the possibility of PPP, the inclusion of these areas, particularly in terms of production of vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostic kits to be included in the strategic investment priorities plan. The mention of expanding the knowledge transfer to academia, we fully agree also on that. Now, with respect to IP protection, while we agree with that, I think this is fully covered by our laws on intellectual property and also the law on Technology Transfer Act. So these two takes care completely of IP protection. With respect to exemption from salary standardization law of technical personnel, he did specifically mention the case of balik scientists. Now, the case of balik scientists is covered by the Balik Scientist Act, where they actually received something else, something different from the salary standardization law. For example, they do receive something like a per diem that is equivalent to UN rates. Okay, and therefore they are actually we believe a good compensation. But of course, since they will be working together with the Filipino scientists based here, there is a difference in terms of the remuneration of what they will be getting from those that are regular employees of the institute. It is happening now in the case of our balik scientists assigned to specific institutions where we assign them. So we don't see any problem about them receiving something else as balik scientists. After all, it is a limited time of engagement. If we decide to settle here permanently, then that is the time they will be subjected to salary standardization law if they get employed with government. Now, the interagency, the recommendation that whatever will be the outputs or outcomes of studies made by the Virology Institute should be taken advantage of and integrated into plans of agencies who will benefit from them is again definitely something that we fully endorse. Now, actually the other bills that were presented do not differ much from the bill that was filed by Congressman Salceda, and we heard the sponsorship messages coming from the authors. We do appreciate those sponsorship messages, Your Honor. I would just like to go now to the presentation of Congresswoman Cheryl Deloso-Montalla. Actually, the sections 1, basic section 1 actually, in general is basically conforming to the other versions of the bill. But let me go to specific chapters because the Honorable Congresswoman divided her bill into 6 chapters. So the first one actually is the establishment itself. Then the other bills, Chapter 2 dealt with the virology laboratory operations. Chapter 3 with laboratory waste management. Chapter 4 with quality systems in virology laboratories. Chapter 5 on penalty provisions. There is also a chapter on other provisions, which again does not deviate much from the other bills. Now, the comment that I would like to make is from my own personal impression. The chapters that deal with virology lab operations are I think, very important. But it looks to me like either it is like a separate bill or an IRR provision. In fact, many of them are covered, I think, by WHO and DOH's regulations that we need to follow. Perhaps the ones on security is something else, but I'm not too familiar with the laws on biosecurity. Now, so that is my comment. But all of them are, I think, very, very good. The provisions of laboratory operations, laboratory waste management, quality systems, penalty provisions, but they to me sound like guidelines in laboratory operations, which I think should either be a separate law or perhaps it will be in another form. Now, there is also a provision regarding human trials. Actually, the Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines, in the process of development, this is from my understanding when we formulated the bill, it will go up to the animal trials, which is the preclinical stage. And when it comes to clinical trials, this is where the partnerships will come. Just like now, the clinical trials can be done by different medical centers or research institutes or hospitals. In fact, the plan at the moment for clinical trials has already started by identifying the institutions that will do it. For example, included in the plan for clinical trials right now with our partnerships with other countries is PGH, the Philippine General Hospital, the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, and the Manila Doctors Hospital. Now, others who would like to participate will affiliate with them. Now, what I can say is that actually RITM, while it has a very distinct mandate to play, it is not given the, from my understanding, the sole privilege to do clinical trials. It can be done by other institutions, but the one who regulates whether they can do it, depending on the methodology that they present is coming from the FDA. It is the FDA who gives the go signal whether an institution can do a clinical trial or not, which is still a DOH entity. Both the RITM and FDA are under DOH. And my last comment may deviate from the topic of Virology Science Institute, but I read in Congressman Salceda's introduction to the bill, something like he foresees the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine to become something like our disease control center or entity in the Philippines, because most countries have a center for disease control. And to my mind, at the moment, it is RITM which is actually doing task which is similar to that. And therefore, if it becomes a center for disease control, again, this is just in my mind, like other centers for disease control, they act as a control regulatory guidance agency, but the centers for disease control themselves do not conduct research. So these are done by other entities. In the US, for example, you have the National Institutes of Health that carry out the research, in addition to the universities that carry out the research, even up to the development of vaccines, therapeutics, and other devices and kits. So to me, there is actually no problem between the possible coexistence of RITM and the Virology Institute of the Philippines. If it will decide to carry out human clinical trials, there is no problem, because our Virology Institute of the Philippines will be going up to the level of preclinical trials, and we will look for medical institutes or medical organizations to do the clinical trials, either with government funding or private sector funding. So that is my interpretation. But the regulation as to who can do clinical trials is still rests with the FDA. So I think it is clear that the Virology Science Institute will not have regulatory functions. It will not be a production entity, because as mentioned by the others who introduced the bill, the Virology Science Institute will go up to the development of the, sabi nga ni Congresswoman Montalla, yung pilot, yung prototype, but the production itself will either be in the hands of government or in the hands of the private sector, or it can be a partnership between government and the private sector. So yun lang po, ang ano ko lang, ang parang impression ko lang, there are things that are mentioned in the bill of Congressman Montalla, very, very good. I don't know whether it deserves a separate bill, or whether it can be in the IRR, or it can be actually taking some other forms that our line departments like DOH should be making pronouncements on. Because there are actually the word biosafety, Your Honor, sometimes is confusing, because when we talk to DOH, biosafety is regarding the operation of laboratories and related operations. But in the National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines, which the DOST chairs, which I chair, the biosafety here actually refers to the safety of genetically modified organisms or materials. So maybe we should look into that more closely. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Secretary de la Peña. Would like to hear from the Department of Health. We have Director Nap Arevalo. Director
Magandang
Nap.
umaga po. Magandang umaga po, Madam Chair. Magandang umaga sa lahat.
Director, your position is a consolidated position paper together with RITM.
That's correct.
Consolidated.
With the Food and Drug
And
Administration.
FDA. Okay, go ahead, Director Nap.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Thank you, Madam Chair. Allow me to read the position of the Department of Health. This is a consolidated position paper from its bureaus.
Hi, Nap!
Hi, Kong. Hi, Kong. Hi, the bureaus as well as the FDA. Bureaus and the RITM.
Go ahead, Director Nap.
Yeah, mabuti po hindi na ako nakamask ngayon. Okay, the Department of Health supports House Bill number 6793, 6798, 6828, 6838, 6873, and 6913, which seek to establish a research and development institute focusing on viruses and viral diseases under the Department of Science and Technology. The proposed measures will address future threats to human lives, resulting in socio-economic challenges of utmost importance. The Philippines, similar with other countries, has been continuously challenged by the coronavirus 2019 or COVID-19, a global pandemic caused by a virus called severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2, which is considered as related to SARS coronavirus 1, but with different characteristics and infective behavior. Apart from SARS-CoV, there are other existing emerging and re-emerging viruses that have been posing a challenge in terms of prevention, control, and management, and which include MERS-CoV, African swine fever virus, and avian influenza virus, among others. Under the Philippine National Health Research System's National Unified Health Research Agenda 2017-2022 research priorities, one of the themes is health resiliency, which aims to improve the ability of the country's health system to be resilient with respect to emerging global and domestic threats. With this, the Department of Health respectfully recommends the following for consideration. Number one, the functions of the Institute shall focus on vaccines and therapeutics development for microorganisms. Example, viral, bacterial, parasitic, and other classes of microorganisms, which would complement the existing mandate and roles of the Virology Department of the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or RITM. The Virology Department of RITM shall retain its existing mandate on reference laboratories for public health purposes, as stipulated under Department Order number 393-E, Series 2000. It has the capacity and has been undertaking researches and diagnostic functions for the past 20 years. The Virology Department, number three, the Virology Department of RITM shall also be supported in terms of budget for the development of novel diagnostic tests for infectious diseases. Number four, the Institute shall cover viruses and viral diseases, not only causing disease in humans, but also in animals and plants. And the Institute shall be administered as an independent body to enable full and effective implementation of its mandates. Number five, adopt the World Health Organization's guidelines on the establishment of virology laboratory in developing countries. Number six, under RA number 9711 or the Food and Drug Administration Act of 2009, the sole responsibility for registration, testing, release of batches of vaccines, oversight of the conduct of clinical trials, and post-marketing surveillance of vaccines rest with the FDA. As a national regulatory authority and in anticipation of possible local vaccine development as proposed, there shall be an established National Control Laboratory or NCL for vaccines under the FDA. The NCL shall A, conduct laboratory testing on vaccines, B, perform lot release certification for both local and imported registered vaccines, and C, validate diagnostic medical devices, among others. Number seven, ensure that the Institute will have sufficient resources, which include manpower and financial resources for its operations. Sources of funds should also be identified. Number 8, ensure that the roles and responsibilities of different agencies, including those who will be involved with the proposed institute, shall be properly defined and delineated. This is to avoid duplication and/or overlap of functions. Number 9, collaboration and exchange of information with and among local and international academic and research institutions, experts, and virology laboratories must be ensured. And lastly, number 10, consultation between the Institute, the Department of Health, and other relevant agencies and institutions on database management system on viruses should be set in place. Madam Chair, that is all from the Department of Health. Magandang umaga po sa lahat.
Thank you so much, Director Na. Please stay with us. We'll have an open forum after all the resource persons speak or stated their position paper. We'll now call on NAST representative, Ms. Luningning Samarita, National Academy of Science and Technology.
Madam Congresswoman, I think it is Dr. Montoya who will represent NAST today.
Okay, Director Montoya.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Chair and distinguished members of the Committee on Science and Technology of the House of Representatives. I will actually represent the President, Dr. Rodora Asansa. I'm currently the Chair of the Health Sciences Division of the National Academy of Science and Technology. If I may be allowed to read the short position statement, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
The National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines, an attached agency of the Department of Science and Technology, mandated by law, Executive Order 818 Series of 1982, to serve as an advisor to the President of the Republic of the Philippines and the Cabinet on policies concerning science and technology in the country, recognizes the significance of the establishment of the Virology, Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines. This commendable initiative will give focus on the country's needs and gaps related to epidemics and pandemics caused by viruses. We believe that there are significant issues that need to be raised regarding the said proposal. Below are the major ones that we hope can be considered in the deliberations of the Honorable Committee. The creation of the Philippine Virology, Science and Technology Institute will be the premier Institute of Virology that will collaborate with the other existing agencies and institutes involved in virology research, which include but not limited to the Research Institute of Tropical Medicine and the proposed Centers for Disease Control Philippines. The proposed bill would like to create an institute to serve as the premier R&D institute in the field of virology, including viruses and viral diseases in humans, plants, and animals. However, we suggest that the proposed institute should focus its first 5 years to researches related to human viruses in collaboration with both local and international academic and research institutions. A database management system on viruses should be set in place in the proposed institute for the control and surveillance of viral infections in the country in close collaboration with the Department of Health. A network of virology laboratories, both here and abroad, should be instituted for immediate exchange of information and research and development collaboration regarding known and emerging viruses. In terms of organization and administrative concerns, the following are suggested. The proposed institution should be an attached agency to the Department of Science and Technology and should be administered as an independent body in terms of policies and activities, including but not limited to financial needs for the full and effective implementation of its goals and mandates. A creation of a government board within the proposed institute is recommended with the inclusion of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Identify highly trained Filipino scientists who are actively engaged in high-quality, cutting-edge research in the various aspects of virology and immunology. For example, those who are publishing the research in international peer-reviewed journals. These Filipino scientists could be based in the Philippines or in foreign countries. The National Academy of Science and Technology could help evaluate the qualification of these scientists. To identify competent, published senior scientists, for example, National Academy of Science and Technology academicians and corresponding members who are published in the scientific literature, and those who continue to read the latest advances in the scientific literature to monitor and evaluate the progress of research at the Virology Institute. This will, of course, include foreign or foreign-based Filipino experts in the evaluation teams as needed. In addition, the following are also recommended. Basic and applied scientific researches on viruses from various origins should be encouraged and supported to provide a wider foundation for the development of virology in the country, including the training and provision of science and technology personnel needs in this particular field. The support and implementation of these projects need not be under the proposed Virology Institute, but can also be under the existing line agencies of the Science Department, such as the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, the Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technologies Research and Development, and the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources Research and Development. However, guidelines and foresight should come from the proposed Virology Institute. Finally, the proposed institute should initially focus on human or medical virology. Hence, all the requirements for strict compliance against contamination from all possible, both internal and external sources, be complied with. This primarily includes the provision of the site of operation and other needed infrastructure. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Montoya. I would like to hear from UP Philippine Genome Center Executive Director Dr. Cynthia Saloma.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in behalf of the UP Philippine Genome Center. So we at the Philippine Genome Center support the creation of an independent, well-funded, and well-supported Virology Science Technology Institute of the Philippines, or VIP for short. The Philippine Genome Center is the premier center capable of next-generation sequencing and bioinformatics analysis in the country, stands ready to assist this proposed VIP in whatever way we can, particularly in the development of a virus database. We have in our proposal the creation of the Philippine Virome database, and this could serve as a nucleus for the virus sequences of the proposed VIP, and at the same time also serves as a mirror site to create an avenue by which we can have backup support for the sequences that have been generated. Looking at the proposals and the proposed bills, we believe that it is important that the functions of this proposed VIP, as well as the proposed CDC, the RITM, and the FDA should be well delineated to avoid any overlapping in functions. So we at the Philippine Genome Center are very, very excited and hope and we fully support the creation of this VIP, and we stand ready to assist this VIP in the next generation sequencing of the viruses, as well as, of course, in the creation of the database necessary for the analysis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to call on representative from Biotechnology Coalition of the Philippines, Executive Secretary, Dr. Abriham Manalo. Dr. Manalo. Okay, we'd like to call on from the University of the Philippines, Program Alumni and Associate Professor, Miss Cheryl Lane Talava.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Dipaz Silava. I'm an associate professor from the Department of Medical Microbiology, University of the Philippines, Manila. I also represent the alumni and faculty of the MD PhD in Molecular Medicine program of the DOST-PCHRD. Actually, majority of our stand is already written in the position paper of the Biotechnology Coalition of the Philippines, or the BCP. But in addition to what has been written, we would like to make additional comments. First would be is we really support and we are very truly excited with the creation of this Virology Institute of the Philippines. However, I want to make a number of comments. First is we really truly agree with what the DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña said on the House Bill 6798, which specifies the biosafety and biosecurity provisions. We believe that a separate bill on biosafety and biosecurity can be made on this, and that this may also be included as an IRR provision. This is because we believe that this segment are guidelines on laboratory implementations. Just to cite a few examples. I'm a virologist and I trained in Japan. I worked in a virology laboratory. And I think that, for example, the minimum staff requirement might be a little bit restrictive because it will require a virologist with diagnostic virology expertise. I'm representing also the other lab since I'm also handling the virology lab of the College of Public Health. We do not necessarily have to be an expert in diagnostic virology since there are, of course, other fields such as treatment and vaccines. And the number of staff requirement might be too big and might be difficult to support in terms of budget for smaller labs like we have. So for example, in our lab, I'm the principal investigator and I might just actually need 2 or 3 more people to work with me to make the lab work. And the use of PPEs, for example, coveralls may not be necessary for biosafety level 1 and 2. These are just some of the few specific sections that I want to make comment on. Just so we who are already doing a number of virology researches would not be restricted to certain unnecessary provisions. The second comment that I want to give would be on the involvement of the academe. We really support this bill by the DOST, and we in the academe who have been doing researches for the longest time would really want to also help the DOST in terms of collaboration. We also have collaborations with a lot of foreign professors and experts in other countries like Japan, Korea, the United States, and we would really love to collaborate with the DOST with this. So that's all for the comments from the MD PhD in Molecular Medicine program from UP Manila. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Before we call on the next resource speaker, we'd like to recognize the presence of the following members. Representative Diego T, Representative Miki Violago, Representative Sara Ilago, and Deputy Speaker Representative Don Gonzalez. Okay, we'd like to call on representative from National Research Council of the Philippines, the President, Dr. Gregorio Del Pilar.
Magandang umaga po, Congressman
Morning, sir.
Helen at sa lahat ng ating mga dumadalo ngayong umaga. Yung pong kasama ko po ang yung mga division chairs ng ilang mga divisions ng NRCP dito at baka magtaas sila ng kamay mamaya. Pero sa bahagi ko po bilang Pangulo ng NRCP, ang gusto ko pong sabihin, at ito binasa ko na nung nakaraan dun sa briefing na ginawa natin a couple of weeks ago, yung napansin ko kasi na, napansin dun nga dun sa 6 na proposals na House bills, nakalagay dun yung proposed composition ng governing board at hindi kasama doon ng NRCP. So yun pong position paper namin na babasahin ko ngayon, kung pwede kong basahin ulit. Ito po ang tinatalakay. Okay. Created in 1933, the National Research Council of the Philippines has a proven track record on managing basic and multidisciplinary research and maintains a membership of technical experts, virologists, immunologists, and specialists in allied fields all over the country. Fundamental sciences and basic research enable the country to prepare and be self-reliant in addressing unexpected and unprecedented challenges that may be encountered in the future. COVID-19 is one of the new emerging pandemics, although it is similar to a few of the world has traversed in the past. Basic research today will lead to innovations as well as to both industrial and social technologies that will address future health and socioeconomic challenges or threats to human lives and well-being. NRCP supports research that aims to protect and promote the right to health of the general population and instill consciousness among them. Aligned with the National Integrated Basic Research Agenda on Health Sufficiency, we are supporting the program on natural products discovery from rare environments, which aims to study novel microorganisms from sites not usually studied that may become sources of potentially valuable compounds for medicinal use and drug development. Currently, there are 2 projects being implemented under this program. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, NRCP has supported research projects on social science to understand the behavioral and societal implications of the pandemic and government policies undertaken. We have started a series of webinars dubbed as Kapakanan ng Tao sa Oras ng Pandemya, K-Top COVID, to disseminate the results of the studies. The concerns of the VIP can leverage from the concerted efforts of the NRCP technical experts coming from nearly all NRCP divisions, that is, mathematical sciences, medical sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, biology, agriculture and forestry, social sciences, chemical sciences, veterinary medicine, as well as government, educational and international policies, engineering, and physics. Among our distinguished members is Dr. Raul Destura from the Medical Sciences Division. Dr. Destura led the research and development of COVID-19 test kit, Gen Amplify, and diagnostic kit for dengue, Biotech M-Dengue Aqua Kit. He also served as Vice President of the NRCP Governing Board and Chair of the Medical Sciences Division until March 2020. So we submitted a list of virologists and immunologists for human, plant, and animal in plants, humans, and animals. With a strong command of the research process and a distinguished roster of technical experts and researchers, NRCP can greatly contribute to achieving the objectives and mandate of the VIP. We believe that the aforementioned significant features of the organization merit the inclusion of NRCP in the governing board of the proposed Virology Institute of the Philippines. Natutuwa po ako na dun sa sponsorship speech ni Congressman Babasa at ni Congressman Tan nabanggit yung kahalagahan ng social sciences. As a psychologist, ito po ay particular concern ko po. But of course, yun nga, tulad ng nabanggit ko, yung ibang areas ng NRCP ay malaki rin ang naiaambag. Salamat po.
Thank you, Dr. Del Pilar. Would like to call on the representative from DBM, Mr. Richard Amborgo.
Good morning po, Madam Chair, at sa lahat po ng members ng ating House of Representatives. We would be submitting a consolidated position paper regarding our comments and suggestions regarding the provisions of this bill, and we would be submitting it to the committee in charge. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. From the DOF and the Bureau of Treasury, I'd like to call on Mr. Dominic Mariano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, honorable congressmen and members of the House of Representatives. We'd just like to comment on provisions or under section, mostly section 16. This would be the putting up of a virology research fund. Our first comment is first, the setup of any fund should be in line with the cash management practices of the national government. As such, it should be part of our treasury single account to allow ease of monitoring and to avoid any idle balances. Also, another part of the section that we would comment on is on the appropriation of funds from the GAA to be lodged in the said virology research fund. So putting up or setting aside funds from the GAA into a separate fund would create pockets in our cash management, which would be inefficient or could lead to inefficiency in our cash management practices. That's one. Now, also on section 17 regarding the use of income generated by the VIP, any income, or it is suggested by the Bureau of the Treasury that income generated by government agencies be remitted to the Bureau of the Treasury for proper accounting, as well as to allow Congress and allow the government to appropriate these funds as part of our revenue and hence fund the priority programs of the national government. Lastly, on the suggested appropriation for the initial operations of the institute under section 18, any appropriation will of course be subject to the programming of the national government and is subject to available fiscal space. So our comments, Madam Chair, we will consolidate it in our paper and we will submit it promptly to the committee for its consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on representative from the Department of Agriculture, Ms. January Nones from DA National Inspection Service.
Good morning, ma'am. Can I refer you po to the top management po of Department of Agriculture to convey the official position paper? I am just here as an observer po.
Okay, go ahead. Who's representing the secretary? Do you have a representative from the office of the secretary right now?
I will look po in the participants list, ma'am, because I'm remotely joining po the session. I will get back po later. Thank you po.
Okay. Please advise us, ma'am. Next, I would like to call on a representative from BCDA, Senior Vice President, Mr. Joshua Bingkang. Do we have Mr. Bingkang from BCDA?
Good morning, Madam. Good morning po, Madam Chair, and to the members of the committee. We would like to present our position paper po on this bill. So from BCDA po, BCDA fully supports po the establishment of the BIP and has taken note that its creation is aligned with the guidelines of World Health Organization on the establishment of virology laboratories in developing countries. And BCDA fully supports the intention of the proposed bills, which will make BIP the premier research and Development Institute in the field of virology. BCDA, as a prime mover in development in Northern Luzon, acknowledged the importance of the BIP as a resilience plan of the country in fighting future pandemics that may arise. BCDA supports the engagement of Balik scientists and foreign experts program. This will further support the aim of BCDA for New Clark City to be a research and development driven development, and will further support the implementation of Virology Institute as Filipino experts in these fields who choose to go abroad to study these cases will be encouraged to work in the country. BCDA fully supports the proposal for the official site of the BIP to be in New Clark City in Tarlac, which is under the administration of BCDA. BCDA is amenable to allocate a portion of the land for Virology Institute and shall be located in the area designated for medical facilities in New Clark City. And BCDA requests that in the future, DOST and BIP closely coordinate with BCDA in order to facilitate the above. And BCDA would also like to request that it be included among the other agencies that DOST shall coordinate with the promulgation of the implementing rules and regulation of the Act. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, our representative from the DENR, Attorney Monette Lim.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'll be reading our position paper. I would like to introduce the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau. We are the research arm of the DNR, and as a government RDE institution, we support the establishment of a public research body dedicated to the establishment of Virology Institute of the Philippines. Now, Madam Chair, in relation to the environment and climate change, reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change mentioned that climate change would cause greater frequency of infectious disease epidemics following floods, storms, and substantial health effects. An example is the transmission of vector-borne infectious diseases, which is jointly affected by climatic conditions, population movement, forest clearance and land use patterns, biodiversity losses, and human population density. Now, legislative initiatives such as these virology bills establishing an R&D institute will prepare and improve the country's efforts in identifying strategies to address health problems and other pandemics. Since the bills presented are more or less similar to than dissimilar from each other, we defer to the wisdom and expertise of our legislators and government agencies such as DOST, DOH, RITM, NASTI, and University of the Philippines. Thank you, Madam Chair, and we would also like to thank our honorable representatives who sponsored the virology bills. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Lim. Before we proceed to the discussion, I'd like to recognize the presence of our Deputy Speaker, Representative Baby Arenas. Okay, I think Chair Joey Salceda would like to comment on the position of the DOF. Chair Joey.
Makikipag-agawan pa ang Virology Institute ng pera, lalong-lalo na may mga urgent dyan, biglang may mga sumusulpot, kailangan laging ka may nakalaan na hindi mo ginagalaw para ito ay nakalaan para sa mga bagay na pagdating ng oras ay kakailanganin mo. So hindi ibig sabihin na laging nasa under ng one fund concept na kung saan talagang iaasa mo ang isang bagay na sa ngayon na na-realize natin, uy, bakit tayo maasa sa ibang bansa para lang sa survival ng ating sarili pong sa national, to our race, as a nation, to our nation. And therefore, there is always a societal function wherein the nation should reserve certain resources so that we can continue continuously. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko sinasabi, kahit wala yung kwenta ngayon, ang sinasabi ko, katulad lagi kang magsasantabi para sa mga bagay na pagdating ng oras ay pakikinabangan natin. At pangalawa, Madam Chair, yun lang po para sa DOF dahil sa pagkontra po ng 2 billion bilang panguna pong pera ng Virology. Sa tingin ko, hindi masama po yun at hindi yung kontra based po sa prinsipyo po ng disaster risk reduction in this particular context or this particular national milieu. Ibig sabihin kung nasaan po tayo. At suggestion ko na rin doon sa isa sa mga suggestion ko kanina na dapat bigyan din ng mandato ang Secretary of Foreign Affairs at saka ang Department of Science na magkaroon ng mga beneficial agreements on exchange on virology information with international organization and with other countries. Yun lang po, Madam Chair, dalawa lang. Unang-una, huwag tayo matatakot na maglaan ng pera sa isang bagay na kailangan natin kahit sa tingin natin na hindi pa to, wala pa itong pakinabang ngayon. Kasi prinsipyo po yan ng resiliency, redundancy. Kailangan mo yan. Pangalawa, yung suggestion ko po na magkaroon po ng mandato ang Secretary of Foreign Affairs pati na po ang Secretary ng DOST to pursue mga beneficial arrangements on exchange of virology information with other international organizations and with other countries. Kasi mukhang hindi natin naisulat doon. Yun lang, Madam Chair. Yung pangatlo na lang, sa tingin ko wala rin naman masama, although siyempre nagpapahaba yun. Yung kay Congresswoman Montalla, ay wag niyo rin tayo matatakot na may mga bagay po doon na talaga maging klaro sa buong bansa, sa buong bayan dahil we need one of the principal things that laws do or legislators do is risk communication. And sometimes by embodying those risk communication inside the law, makes it clear to everyone kung ano ang kanila pong mga trabaho. Hindi ko kinukontra ko si Secretary ng DOST. Ang sinasabi ko, may mga party doon, lalo-lalo na kung ito ay lifted o kinuha sa WHO, hindi naman masama na yun ay ating pong isulat din para mas klaro kung ano po ang instruction, ano ba ang wisdom ng Kongreso sa ngayon habang tayo po dumadaan sa isa sa pinakamasakit o masaklap na episode sa ating kasaysayan. So, wag ko rin tayo matatakot of just give it a certain ang tawag dyan, not a leeway, but rather a way of hindi lang na iaasa mo sa IRR, kundi give it a way of give it enough space for being changed in order to respond to any changes in the environment. So yun lang po, Madam Chair. Yan lang po yung tatlong comment ko. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Chair Joey. I agree with your comment sa DOF. It's about time naman po na bigyan ng pansin, hindi yung reactive tayo. Kung kailang nandyan ang problema, saka lang po tayo naghahanap at maglalaan ng pondo. So paghahanda po sa mga future threats, especially doon sa ating public health. And okay, would like to recognize Representative June Gato. Kung June, would like to ask question with our resource person.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much. I just want to be clarified on the transfer of offices. Should this bill become a law and implemented, what happens to the other agencies not under the DOST like RITM, NIH, and the ones in Cebu, and other agencies related to biological research? Anyone from the authors?
Well, Madam Chair, I don't envision the RITM to be moved here. It's being moved to CDC, but not to the Virology Institute. What we're envisioning really is the creation of a brand new national institution for research. And second, tingin ko, although it may be impolite, I think, Madam Chair, it may be once we have finalized this that the chairman of the Committee on Reorganization, or at least we could seek yung output po dito ng natin, kung pwede idaan po natin sa Committee on Reorganization para po pagbaba po sa plenaryo maging mas malinaw at malinis po ang mas malinaw, malinis at mabilis ang ating pong pag-approve ng Virology Institute.
Thank you so much, Chair Joey. We'll definitely follow your suggestion on referring the output of this substitute bill to the Committee on Reorg. Kong June, we have a bill kasi on the creation of CDC referred to the Committee on Health. Yes. So that's why very important po na yung deliberation natin halos simultaneous siya or magkasabay para makita natin yung delineation ng functions or yung scope of each bill, no? So doon sa creation of CDC kasi nakalagay po doon, isa doon sa kukuhain na attached agency ng DOH, yung RITM. But dito kasi, yun yung isang gusto nating linawin kay Secretary de la Peña and sa DOH. Kasi ang sa DOH recommendation is yung function of the RITM currently on vaccine production. They wanted it transferred to this VIP, no? But as mentioned earlier by Kong Cheryl, based on the proposed or doon sa response ni Secretary de la Peña, he mentioned na pwede yung pilot study lang if found effective and safe yung mass production for public use ay pupwede na through patent or ibebenta ng government to certain manufacturing pharmaceutical companies. So we'd like to ask Secretary de la Peña up to what extent yung function supposed to be ng VIP. Secretary?
Honorable Chair, can I just give reactions to the different points that were raised by the different organizations? It will not take too much time. So, for example, I would like to... Sandali lang, ma'am. I took notes. Okay. So, yung... well, magsimula na ako dun sa huli na sinabi ni Kong Joe. Yung tungkol sa financing, of course, we like the idea of Congressman Joey yung tungkol sa financing. Ano po, definitely. Yun namang sinabi niya po tungkol dun sa mga additional sections ni Congressman Montalla. Actually, wala naman po kaming objection dun sa kahit isang nakasulat doon dahil maganda naman. Ang iniisip ko lang yung appropriateness of incorporating it in the act creating the Virology Institute. But if the honorable members of Congress wants that, to consider that to be part of the Virology Institute, okay naman po kasi whether we like it or not, susunod naman kami doon dahil may mga regulasyon po doon. Yun naman pong sa posisyon ng DOH, I took notes on the 10 of them. Actually po, sa amin okay lahat ito yung pag-continue ng Virology Department with what they are doing, if they are there as a reference laboratory or they are there to do some regulation. I think as I have indicated earlier, wala po kaming plano maging regulatory body. Ang hindi lang po malinaw dun sa 10 recommendation ng DOH ay yung isang item dun sa item 4 na sinabi nilang they want the Virology Science Institute to be an independent body. Now, yung word na independent, hindi ko po alam kung ano ibig sabihin exactly, pero yun namang statement po ng National Academy of Science na inire-recommend nilang attached but independent body to the Department of Science and Technology ay something that elaborated on independent. Kasi po yun namang mga agencies namin, yung mga research and development institutes namin, attached sila lahat, pero sila po ay may sariling budget at independent sila in practically every aspect, except that we make sure that the research activities are aligned with the approved national harmonized research and development agenda. And then tungkol naman po doon sa comment ng National Academy pa rin, focusing its first 5 years on human viruses, maybe the word focus is appropriate, but it does not mean that we will not have research on viruses against plants and animals, as we have indicated in our purposes. There is also of course, the comment of Dr. Saloma is very much welcome, particularly na po doon sa database na actually ay sinisimulan na nila, and that can be an area of collaboration. Now, yung comment ni Dr. Salaba, who is with the Department of Medical Microbiology and the head of our alumni of the MD PhD. Sila po ang mga graduates ng DOST Scholarship for MD PhD. Mahigit na po yatang 12 silang nakaka-graduate, and a host of other candidates are graduating this year. But there is a suggestion that I would like to make emanating from her recommendation. In the same way that we have a section on the engagement of Balik scientists and foreign experts and a section on international cooperation, I suggest that we have a section on collaboration with the local institutions doing work on virology. Yun po. And then, ano ko na yung tukol sa kay Kong Joey. So, yun naman sa transfer of offices po, when we were conceptualizing it, wala naman kami naiisip po na ita-transfer. Ano? Kaya lang yung aming DLLO officer, Department Legislative Liaison, sabi nila, standard na ilagay dyan yung section na tungkol sa kung mayroong mga affected offices ay covered by a certain section. So, frankly, wala po naman kami nakikitang ita-transfer na office. Yun lamang po, Honorable Congresswoman.
Thank you, Secretary de la Peña. I'd like to recognize Congressman Hector Sanchez. Kong Sanchez.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman, to our colleagues, and to all resource persons. First of all, I would like to commend all our resource persons for giving us to understand this Virology Science Technology Institute of the Philippines, which I fully support all of these House bills. However, to make it a little bit to understand us, it was mentioned by Dr. Saloma that first they are developing a virus gene bank. Now, this virus gene bank is a virus genome laboratory and to focus on viruses circulating in the Philippines for disease prevention and epidemiological studies. And we have also RITM, Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, which was formulated or under DOH dated April 23, 1981, located in Alabang. This is responsible for the biomedical and public health research, and the other one, which is we have this existing genome, UP Genomics. This is a multidisciplinary research facilities that combines basic and applied research for development of health and therapeutic product and improve agricultural and aquatic resources. The reason why I mention all of these existing facilities that we have right now, because in the Senate, there is a Senate Bill 1543 by Senator Lacson to put up a new facilities that will cover this biological technology. Now, if you try to check on the NIH based in Bethesda, Maryland, USA, this is a very huge laboratory, which is right now they cannot yet produce the the right vaccine for COVID-19. Now, again, we have guidelines on the evaluation of the diagnostic medical devices and other relative laboratory diagnostic supplies for COVID-19. We have RA 3720 as amended by RA 9711 that test kits and virtual diagnostic reagents must be registered with the Food and Drugs Administration of the Department of Health before release to the Philippine market. And also in accordance with the Department Order number 393 E-Series 2000, the RITM has been mandated to perform evaluation of the test kits to ensure their quality and good performance in the local city. Now, the reason why I mention all of this, because my observation in all our resource speaker and of course the House Bill, the series of House Bill that we're going to pass right now. Madam Chair, I think, may I suggest that having with this existing facilities we have right now, there's no need to put up a new one, and that is very costly. For us to have these facilities, it will take us about 5 years to develop the building, the facilities without this still the laboratory. Now, my suggestion is instead of focusing on a new facilities, why not focus on the existing facilities and provide all needed laboratory equipments for virological use. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kong Hector. Noted po your suggestions. Would like to recognize first the presence of the following members: Representative Alexi Tutor, our Vice Chair, Representative Victor Yap, and Representative Carlito Marquez. I'd like to call on Chair Joey, additional comment.
Yeah, thank you. Unang-una, yung si Director Revilla has worked in Bicol, isa Bicolano. So, but I'd like to differ lang na dapat talaga siya ay nasa DOST kasi ang DOST mayaman sa GIA, Grants and Aid. Yun ang kakailanganin po. So kung may kulang po ang Virology Institute, kayang-kaya po nila. At ito rin yung isang dahilan kung bakit pinagbigyan ko na lang na hindi tanggalin yung pag-asa at ang T-box mula sa DOST papunta DDR. Gawa nga na yan, meron pong pera na nakalaan dyan, malaking pera na nakalaan po sa DOST na pwede pong pakinabangan ng Virology Institute if it is under the DOST. Second, doon naman kay Congressman Sanchez, another Bicolano. Bakit ba puro Bicolano maingay? Hindi ho lahat kasing virology is for health sir. Kailangan din siya ng agriculture. Kaya ang pag-aaral po ng viruses, viroids, ay yun po actually mas mayaman, hindi lang po sa ngayon, nagkataon na pandemic ngayon, pero actually napakayaman po ang economic impact nito pag ito ay malaki ang gamit outside, hindi lang po sa pagsugpo ng disease at pati na po sa ibang function na pwede pong paggamitan ito. At pangatlo, na napapanahon na rin, at ito ay isang para po sa ating chairwoman na napakasipag, na dito na naman narinig natin sa CDC, narinig natin yung issue ng biosafety. At dito naman narinig natin ulit ang issue ng biosafety. At may sariling bill po na tungkol po sa health safety. So kailangan malinaw na po siguro at baka mas kakailanganin na po natin na tama-tama habang pinag-uusapan, pinag-aaralan natin sabay-sabay ang CDC, itong Virology Institute, pati na po pati na po yung Philippine Health Safety, I forgot the title of that bill, para we could have a more hindi na sa reconciled, kundi yung appropriate and proportional institutions that will serve the national interest. Yun lang po, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair Joey.
Madam Chair, can I add on, Madam Chair? This is
go ahead, sir. Yes, Kong Hector.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I appreciate the comment of Congressman Joey Salceda. However, just to elaborate, Madam, UP Genome Center is a DNA sequencing facilities, and with the capability of bioinformatics facility, biobank core facility, protein, proteomics, and metabolomics facilities. These are complete facilities suited for what we are looking for, which is, it was mentioned by our beloved Congressman Joey Salceda, that this is not only for virus, but intended also to improve agricultural and aquatic resources. The only problem right now, Madam Chair, I think UP has or do not have enough funds to continue or to improve more this to come up with a good result of this facilities, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kong Hector. Do we have other members who wanted to ask question or statement, clarifications from our members and authors?
Madam Chair.
Kong Cheryl, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Madam Chair, for your full support, and of course, Kong Joey Salceda for the importance of the biosecurity and measure. To respond to Congressman Hector, why do we need a VIP? Kasi po sa ngayon, parang ginising tayo nitong COVID virus na hindi tayo ready hindi tayo handa sa pag-aaral natin ng mga viruses, hindi tayo handa sa mga protocols and mga procedures. But if we have one entity like this one who will really focus on the study of viruses, magaguide po lahat ng agencies. Hindi po natin pinlanon na alisin ang function ng ibang agencies dito, but the VIP will focus mainly on the researches and studies. Pag ito po ay affected na, gagamitin for human trials, saka naman siya ita-transfer ng RITM. So, tingin ko po walang overlapping ng function dito. Tingin ko complementary yung mga agencies natin dito. And besides, VIP will also focus on plant viruses and animal viruses kasi baka po may possibility na tumalon ang viruses sa humans. So magkakaroon tayo ng problema. Ngayon, bakit po natin kailangan to ngayon? Kasi po, kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa pala? So it's better that right now, establish na po natin ito, set up the protocols, even the biosafety, para regulations, para hindi na tayo magkakaroon ng, para may handa po tayo in the future, today and the future. Yan lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Well explained. Thank you.
Chair, I have the
Cheryl.
permission.
Yes.
So I have to speak in behalf of the Philippine Genome Center. I appreciate the comments of
Go ahead, ma'am.
Dr. Sanchez. So I'll just give a comment from the Philippine Genome Center side. So the Philippine Genome Center was established as a research as well as a service facility. So in terms of the VIP, I believe that we really need to have a separate entity such as the VIP, particularly because in the development of therapeutics and vaccines, particularly for the most infectious agents, in the Philippines, we actually do not have a P4 facility, and this bill provides for the creation of a building or a facility that would allow us to study the most infectious agents. So definitely in the entire Philippines, wala po tayong P4 facility. We only have, I think, 2 P3 facilities, one in RITM, and the other is in the National Institutes of Health in UP Manila. So I think it is very, very important that we have a virology-focused research center. It's going to be expensive to create such a facility and to collect the talent pool, and it has to be very, very well funded. But we know for a fact that we need to be very, very prepared for infectious diseases, not only for humans, but also for animals and plants. So kami po sa Philippine Genome Center, pwede kaming tumulong, pwede kaming mag-sequence ng mga organisms, mag-help sa database. But as far as virology-focused research, I think it really needs to have us an institution such as the VIP to keep this going. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Do we have other members who want to ask question? Kong Joey.
Secretary Peña, paano mo i-include yung social sciences as being suggested here by your NSRC? How do you put them in the governing board?
Actually, Kong Joey,
pag human trials na, I think we would need them, especially when you need mass immunization. So yung socio-anthropological aspects, how do you at least have an institutional linkage with the BIP?
well, number one, my suggestion na magkaroon ng isang section on collaboration with other local institutions is one. The other thing is that since both are attached to the DOST, we can easily ask NRCP to do the social science portion of any particular development that we think will need a social science study approach. And number three, with respect to the inclusion of the NRCP in the board, I will leave it up to the House of Representatives. Kasi if I will recommend something like that, they might as well sit at all our agencies.
Bahala ka na daw, Angelina Tan.
Sige, sir. Okay, we'd like to recognize from DA Bureau of Animal Industry, Mr. Ronnie Domingo.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning po, Madam Chair.
Good morning, sir.
Kami po sa Bureau of Animal Industry ng Department of Agriculture, wini-welcome po namin ito pong development na ito, itong submission ng proposed bill creating the Virology Institute of the Philippines. Ito po ay very timely sa kaalaman po ng mga kasama po natin sa hearing na ito. 70% po ng mga lumalabas na diseases sa tao ngayon galing po yan sa hayop. At kailangan po talaga natin na tayo po ay may sariling ganitong pasilidad. Nung nagkaroon po tayo ng outbreak sa avian influenza, nagkaroon po tayo ng outbreak sa African swine fever. Meron po tayo mga local testing facilities, pero para makasigurado po tayo, kailangan pa po na magpadala po tayo ng ating mga samples sa Australia at saka sa United Kingdom. Kaya kung tayo po ay magkakaroon po ng ganitong facility, ay baka immediately we can do the confirmatory diagnosis and we can render the appropriate actions. At dahil po sa malaki ang need po natin dito, kami man po sa Department of Agriculture, sa grupo po ng livestock sector po ay meron po kaming isa sa mga programa na ilulunsad po na similar din po dito, pero ito ay particularly for animals. Ang tawag po namin dito, Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases. At dahil nga po nabanggit ko kanina, 70% po ng ating mga diseases na naglilitawan ngayon have their origin from animals. Maganda po na makita namin, kami po na nasa Department of Agriculture, yung pong magiging connection po nitong aming iniisip na Transboundary Animal Disease Center at saka ito pong Virology Institute po natin na kasalukuyan pong inihahain for approval. Nagkaroon po kami ng mga konting experiences.
Sir Ronnie?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yeah, if I may ask lang, ano ang scope of functions nung you mentioned Center for Transboundary Animal Disease?
Medyo encompassing po siya, ma'am. Meron po itong magiging virology section, may bacteriology section, at meron din po para sa protozoan and parasitic diseases. More on animal diseases po ito, madam.
Yeah, is it in a form of a bill pending in the House?
It's a program at susunod na po namin yung bill, madam.
Okay, kasi we need to also collaborate with the Committee on Agriculture on
Correct
that.
po, ma'am.
Kasi iniiwasan natin yung duplication po nung function. Dapat complementary po siya.
I agree with you, madam.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for informing us about that move from the Department of Agriculture. Please continue, sir.
Sa experience po kasi namin, maganda din po yung sinasabi nila na birds of the same feather flock together. Kaya po nakita namin na kung may virology aspect ito po ng ating mga sakit-sakit na ito, maganda po magsama-sama yung mga veterinaryo at maganda din po na magsama-sama po yung mga doktor ng tao, and then mag-uusap po sila kung ano po yung mga collaborations na gagawin po nila. Halimbawa po, Madam Chair, sa rabies po, nagkaroon po tayo ng rabies law, nilagyan po yun ng 100 million initial budget, pero ngayon po ay ang binibigyan na lang po yata sa Department of Agriculture ay 10 million na lang para sa rabies eradication po natin. At hindi ho magiging matagumpay yung project ng DOH sa rabies control hanggat hindi nasa-settle yung problema sa rabies sa hayop. Kasi diyan po nanggagaling po yun. Ngayon po yung mga products po na galing po na kailangan po natin i-accredit, i-regulate, mga drugs. Ang nangyayari po dyan, madam, ngayon ay yung mga veterinary drugs dati ay handled by the Department of Agriculture. But because of the revisions of the laws, nandun na po yan ngayon sa Food and Drug Administration ng Department of Health. Ngayon po ay 2 years na po na hindi naayos kung paano yung paglipat po ng veterinary drugs sa DOH, at yung mga stakeholders po ay nagkakaroon po ng problema sa registration po ng kanilang products. Ito naman po ay mga administrative problems na isa-settle po natin. Kaya po sinasabi ito, Madam Chair, yung pong coordination po ay kailangan pong iayos po ito upang sa gayon ay kung magkaroon man tayo ng virology section, nandiyan po yung mga doctors focusing on the human diseases. At the same time, magkakasama-sama din po yung mga veterinaryo working on the animal diseases that can be considered as zoonotic o nakakahawa from animals to human beings. Yun lamang po, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. do we have any members who want to comments or ask question? Kong Jun Gato.
Can I ask
Jun
another
Gato.
question?
Yes.
Yes, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we have an estimate how long does it take from the building of a facility to the actual operation of the VIP? Should it become implementable?
Your Honor, one good development is that in addition to the support of BCDA for the setting up of the building, the infrastructure cluster already included the budget for the building for 2021. And that is, I think, a very good development, meaning to say we are just waiting for the law to establish it. At the same time, DBM included 339 million pesos for the initial operation of the Virology Center for 2021. Well, of course, in terms of location, it may not yet be ready because, to establish a facility, maybe we need at least a period of 1 year to set it up from the time construction will start. And as we all know, construction activities now are not in the same speed as during normal times. And but what we can do is with the approval of the, let's say if the law is passed and with the money provided by DBM, we are authorized to order equipment already. But there are already researches that can be started utilizing other facilities. So, yun naman po.
So is 5 years a fair estimate, Madam Chair, sir? To the actual operation of the institute?
Secretary De La Peña.
5 years po, naku, matagal na po yun. We would like to see it fully operational siguro within 2 years from establishment of the institute by law.
2 years. Very good.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Kong
Thank you, sir.
Sanchez.
Yes, Madam Chair. The question of Congressman Gato is the construction period of this bio facilities, which is, I was involved in UP Genome, that's why I can tell you a minimum of 5 years. And then, because this is more complicated, this is a, a controlled temperature. All laboratories are special, especially these are concerning virus. So this 5 years is the minimum of a construction period, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
And last.
Salceda.
Kailangan siguro i-klaro natin yung yung na-trigger kasi ako ng BAI comment. There should be like a very clear and specificity of the interdepartmental relation between DOST, DOH, and DA. I think should be clarified. Kasi pati yung bill ko wala eh. Tiniinanap ko kung paano, let's say, how clearly na magkakaroon ng magandang koordinasyon, information sharing, resource sharing, facility sharing, or yung parang notification protocols. So parang they can continuously improve on what you can call mga memorandum of understanding. They should continuously build on that para po mas maging effective po. So I would just like to suggest to the chairman, because eventually this committee that will write it, magkaroon po ng klarong interdepartmental relations section with respect to DA as well as with DOH.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Congressman Chato.
Yes, sir.
In relation to the question of Congressman Joey on the coordinative roles of the different agencies, I strongly support the bill. Biosafety has really been an issue now even at a time when we are also under COVID and almost all provinces want to have biosafety molecular laboratories in our respective provinces. But in the discussions, it also was highlighted that presently the agencies have their capacities, but they're working separately from one agency to another. And I was just wondering again on who at the present moment without the VIP yet, and until such time when the VIP will be established, who is doing the coordinative role, or what agency is doing the traffic in relation to the different functions of agencies that are actually related to each other, and as we envision, can be put together in one roof under a VIP for our resource persons, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kong Chato. Secretary de la Peña.
With respect to the suggestion of the Honorable Congressman Salceda, I support that. And if I will be asked, I will designate the Council Executive Director for Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, Dr. Montoya, to directly discuss with the DOH, with the representative from DOH regarding this. And Executive Director Reynaldo Iborra of the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources, R&D, to collaborate with the BAI. With respect to the suggestion or the question of Congressman Chato, I would like to mention that under the NURA law, which was passed by Congress several years ago, this is the National Unified Health Research Agenda. There are 4 agencies that are actually actively collaborating in R&D in the health sciences. And I refer to DOH, DOST, the CHED, okay, to cover the universities, and also the UP National Institutes of Health. They adopt a common harmonized or a common research agenda for health research and development, and these are actually coordinated at the level of the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development at DOST. Maybe if I can just mention, DOH, for example, entrusts its research money to the hands of PCHRD in terms of coordination and allocation. And well, as far as UP NIH is concerned, we have a long-standing relation with that in terms of collaboration. CHED does not participate very actively because the level of collaboration is with the specific university. So siguro the direct answer to Congressman Chato, at this time, the coordination is being done by the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development as far as R&D is concerned.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And please put me as a co-author of the consolidated version of the bill. Thank you.
Salamat po.
Thank you, sir. Secretariat, please take note on that. Do we have members pa who want to ask question or clarify to our resource speakers? If none,
Chair,
yes.
Tan.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Opo. Gusto ko lang pong ulitin ang NRCP po kasi ay basic research po ang aming focus po. Kaya yung sa tingin ko kung pinapahalagahan po natin yung role ng basic research, no? Ang basic research, alam natin kahit pa walang kaagad na mga application ito, no? Ito yung importanteng basehan kaya tinatawag na basic research, no? Kailangan meron tayo nitong malinaw na mga batayan ng ating mga applied research para nang sa ganon ay solid yung ating foundation. Kaya kung pinapahalagahan po natin yon at nakikita natin na sa isang undertaking na kamukha ng Virology Institute, pag-isipan po natin siguro sanang mabuti, no, yung paglalagay ng NRCP sa governing board. Salamat po.
Sir, currently ba nagko-collaborate sa inyo on DOST through PCHRD, PICARD?
Kaya lang
mga collaborative works.
Totoo po 'yon. Kaya lang alam po natin na applied research councils po sila no. So kung gusto natin po yung viewpoint ng basic research, kasi ang pan nga po namin ideal yung structure ng NRCP no, with the 13 scientific divisions. Ito po ang yung asset nito no. So merong particular na viewpoint na pwedeng i-advance ang NRCP for interdisciplinary research, not only multidisciplinary research no, kung saan kanya-kanyang tingin dun sa phenomenon ang nakikita natin, kundi interdisciplinary no. Sa mismong activities ng NRCP, ito po ang tipo ng research na ideal o na pinopromote ng NRCP.
Okay, sir. Kong Ruth?
Chair, if there are no questions from our colleagues, may I move for the creation of a technical working group to discuss further and consolidate the different bills proposed by our authors on VIP. And may I request further, Madam Chair, that the Chairperson of the Committee on Health, you, Madam Chair, to chair the said TWG. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Second.
Second.
Okay, before I act on the motion, may I ask our resource person to please submit the official signed position papers on the said bills. There's a motion to create technical working group to be chaired by yours truly. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you so much for joining us today, to our resource persons, Secretary De La Peña, for spending his time throughout the proceedings of this hearing. To all our authors and members of the Committee on Health and from the minority, thank you for joining us. Maraming salamat po. So we'll see you probably next week.
Salamat po.
Working group meeting natin. Secretary De La Peña, meron pong
Thank you,
nasubmit sa amin na substitute bill from the
everyone.
DOST. Dumaan po ito sa opisina nyo.
From ano po? From
DOST, there's a substitute bill forwarded to the committee. Wala
titingnan
po
ko po.
kasing signing. Yeah, okay. Please check, sir. Although the committee secretariat will draft a substitute bill based on the discussion we had today.
Baka, okay po. Baka po siguro i-consider na lang yun sa TWG discussions.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. May I hear a motion, the favorite motion?
Madam Chair,
Maraming salamat po.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to adjourn. Duly seconded. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. God bless everyone po.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bye, Secretary.
Thank you.